Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So welcome to another market open. Well, about to. The market will open in about 7 minutes. This is, of course, the day after the Super Bowl. And there are a lot of thoughts I want to share, specifically around the crypto-related Super Bowl ads. And overall, some other thoughts. But besides the Super Bowl, there are big things happening this week, of course, with Ukraine, with the Fed, with several other things that's going to happen. So let's discuss. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on social media, especially Twitter, and check out all the latest news, article, and guides at CryptosRUs.com. Welcome. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It feels so early, especially after a Super Bowl, which today should really be a national holiday. I know this has been talked about forever, but you know we should really make it happen. The day after Super Bowl is a national holiday. But anyways, all right. So looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is at 42.7, so it's a little bit higher than yesterday. So we're still trying to crawl back up. If you look at the equity market today, you look at, well, Dow, S&P, NASDAQ, barely clinging on to green right now. What's surprising about this is I was looking at European markets, and they're devastated right now. I mean, you can see that they're deep in the red. So Europe is not having a good day right now. And if you're from Europe, you could probably talk about that. So I'm quite surprised that Europe was down. Asia was down big, especially Japan, right? So overseas markets down pretty big. But in the U.S., we're actually showing green. We're turning green. Surprising, but in a good way, right? So market bell is about to open in about 5 minutes. Let's see what happens. But let's first talk about Super Bowl commercials, okay? There was a lot. There was a lot of commercials. I mean, me personally, I think yesterday's Super Bowl was more about reminiscing about the 90s and 2000s, right? A lot of the commercials I enjoyed were from like movies from when I was growing up, like the Austin Powers one with GM. Like, I used to love Austin Powers. And also the Cable Guy with Jim Carrey, right? This generation, no one's going to know those references. Like, if you're a 20-year-old, there's no way you understand any of those things. But for me, I enjoyed it. I also liked the Rocket Mortgage commercial. I thought that was pretty clever with the Barbie house and how the housing environment is right now, right? But what I didn't enjoy was any of the crypto commercials. Not one so bit. That's why I was on Twitter so critical of them, because I felt like they all wasted a golden opportunity. I mean, none of them did anything to educate people on crypto or bring them aboard. And the very first one, of course, is the Coinbase one. And the Coinbase one was a QR code that was bouncing around for 30 seconds. When it came up, people were like, WTF? But it kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. So eventually you got so bored, you had no choice but to pull out your phone and try to scan it. But here's the thing. And then, half the people on Twitter is like, oh yeah, it's so creative. It got people to overload Coinbase's servers. Had Coinbase just put up a sign or a logo or something, some kind of word saying, hey, get $15 free Bitcoin. Go to drops.coinbase.com. That would probably get them 10 times the amount of traffic. Because most people looking at this, especially the non-tech savvy one, will never pull out their QR code and get that, right? They would never do it. And so many others are eating or talking or whatever. They're just not going to have time to look at it. If Coinbase wanted to just give out $15 for the Bitcoin, they could have just said, hey, go here and collect $15 for the Bitcoin. That would have probably generated 3 times or 5 times the amount of traffic versus this. I thought this was just really stupid. And again, just giving people $15 worth of Bitcoin is not going to help educate anyone. If people don't know about Bitcoin, They're like, what is Bitcoin? Why do I want to get $15 with it? Probably they're not going to go through the hassle, and you have to go do KYC too to get it too. It's not like you just sign up. You have to sign up and do KYC before you get it $15. So do you think someone that doesn't know Bitcoin is going to go through the hassle to get that $15? No, it was stupid. It was stupid. And the whole thing was, again, no education. Someone that doesn't know Bitcoin, they don't know Bitcoin, right? So do something to educate people. This was like catered to people that already know about Bitcoin. So of course, Bitcoin people is cheering this, but I think this is just stupid. It was just a wasted opportunity. Same thing with the FTX commercial. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think it's the funniest show on earth. I honestly think Larry David is a comedic genius, okay? And I did enjoy this commercial. But just like Coinbase, it's nothing to do with crypto. Only at the very end they make the point, okay, FTX is a change, and Larry David being counteracting that, just like the commercial. But there was no call to action. It was like 5 seconds of FTX's logo, and then go to some blog URL. That's it. It was like 5 seconds, disappear really quickly. There was no good call to action. Again, no education on crypto whatsoever. It's like all these commercials. If you're seeing a Michelob Ultra commercial or Doritos commercial, you know what products they're selling already. And most Americans already tried it, or maybe they're willing to try it, but they know the product already. With crypto, most Americans do not know crypto. They don't understand it. They don't trust it. None of these commercials made any attempt to try to educate people on them. So I love Larry David. I thought this was a funny commercial, but it probably brought in 0 users for FTX. 0 whatsoever. And I don't know what happened to FTX. They were going to give away $1 million. I thought there were going to be a second commercial, but I didn't see any of that. Anyways. And then Crypto.com's LeBron commercial. I mean, it had the right message, but the CGI was probably the worst I've ever seen. Some of you guys have seen the Jordan commercial from back in the day, and this was like, 20 years ago, when Jordan was playing, the old Jordan was playing the young Jordan. The CGI in that looked better than this. So I don't know what went wrong, okay? The CGI from 20 years ago of Jordan playing Jordan was better than LeBron talking to young LeBron in this. So to me, I got turned off by the whole thing because the face looks so fake. You couldn't take this seriously. And again, has nothing to do with crypto. Zero. Nothing. I mean, it's a good message to tell his young kid, young self to, go do your thing, right? Great. But what does that have to do with crypto? Nothing. 0. Just like the Matt Damon commercials. Luck favors the bold, or whatever the message is. Again, that's why I was so disappointed in all 3 of these. And you know what? It was very disappointing, right? It was a chance to get crypto out in front of 200 million eyes. Do something to educate people. And the eToro one was even worse. I don't even want to talk about the eToro one. That was like just ridiculous. They had a sheep, and then they were talking about people flying, going to the moon, and it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. They were all bad. Crypto commercials were bad. Let's just be honest about it. So that's my 2 cents on all of them. So that's why when people said, asked me before, are crypto commercials go pump, the coins? No, they're not, because they were actually all stupid. Anyways, okay. Outside of that, I did enjoy the halftime show. I know some, rap is not the music choice for some, but again, it brought me back like 20 years, just like the other commercials I enjoyed from the movies I grew up with, right? The music was basically, it brought me back like 20 years when I was, still a young lad. So I liked it. Anyways, all right, so market opens. We're starting to see some red. Like I said, I was surprised it's green because Europe was so red. So I don't know if this is going to hold or it's going to continue down. But besides the Super Bowl, of course, we have other things going on. Let's talk about the Fed first. So this guy right here, Fed Bullard, who is the St. Louis Federal Reserve president, he went on CNBC and talked about his stance, and he is probably the most hawkish Fed president there is right now. He believes that the central bank needs to raise hikes immediately, and very swiftly, and go full point by July. And to quote, credibility is on the line, credibility of the Fed. I don't know if anyone cares about credibility of the Fed at this point, and whether or not there's any credibility at all. And then you need to front load the rate hikes, meaning that you need to be more aggressive up front than after, right? So that's his stance. So basically, there's a meeting today. There's a special closed door meeting today. And then I'm sure they're going to talk about this. They're going to talk about Ukraine situation. They're going to talk about some of the earnings that has happened, some of the economic reports, the data that's come out, right? They're going to look at all this and they're going to prepare, right? But not everyone is as hawkish as this guy. So the Kansas City Fed president, who happens to be within the FOMC, the President Esther George, who's also a George, she happens to be a voting member of FOMC, so she's going to have a big play in this. She does not believe that a 50-point rate hike in March is warranted. She believes that the Fed does have this opportunity to sell off their assets and just kind of sell off quickly, but she does not believe that they need to raise. So not everyone is as hawkish as this person, although there's like percentages already being thrown out by CME, and it's like almost 100% in terms of 50% rate hike in March. So again, people are wondering what's going to happen, right? Is the Fed going to be very hawkish? They're going to be a little bit more dovish. Just don't know at this point. So the markets will probably try to price it in. So from now till March, when that meeting happens, we're probably going to see more non-movement, or we're going to go lower because they think this is going to come, right? But it does seem like we already digested the news. Now, someone said check out Nvidia. Nvidia they're reporting Wednesday, and I mentioned this. So one of the big earnings that I'm looking at is Nvidia, which is this Wednesday, and I think they're gonna give a message. They're gonna send a message to the market in terms of, well, the chip shortage that everyone's been talking about. Okay, with cars, semiconductors, phones, even Apple, everyone's talking about supply chain shortage. So Nvidia, I think this is going to be very telling. They're one of the biggest semiconductor companies in the world. Of course, they produce a ton of GPUs, but their chips is used in mobile phones and everything else, right? So I think the market is going to get a glimpse of what they're seeing and whether or not supply chain issues are going to be resolved or loosened going into Q1 and Q2 of this year. So I think this will be a big one. This will be a big one to look at on Wednesday. And on Thursday, there's going to be reports from Walmart too. Now, Walmart, obviously a different beast, different animal, but they will shed some light on retail sales and whether or not people are still shopping, and what they're buying, or have they started being more conservative and people have started saving, right? So that's the thing. A lot of people are afraid that all of what's coming with the Fed rate hikes, that means mortgage rates goes up, right? And things are still expensive. And without all the stimulus being thrown out there, that we may go through a period of deflation. So, and if you look at what economists say, deflation is much worse than inflation, right? So even though you want to stop inflation, you don't want to cause deflation. So yeah, whatever the Fed is working on, it's not easy. Let's just put it that way. It's not easy. All right. So we do have, the Fed stuff still happening. We have, earnings reports still happening, and I'm only highlighting two, but there's a ton of companies that's reporting this week. And also, of course, we do have this situation. Oh no, No, that's not what that's not this. I was going to talk about Ukraine, but I'll just mention this. But this is interesting that for a very first time, I believe NFT was confiscated, was seized, and it's actually, I don't know if this was it, but they said $1.4 million worth of NFTs seized. So that's kind of interesting, right? So it does show you that NFTs are property that can still be seized if you're not careful or if you're doing bad things. I just thought that was interesting, so I brought that up. Anyways, moving to the next point, this is what I'm talking about, of course. What's going on with U.S., Russia, Ukraine, right? I mentioned this past weekend. Biden and Putin had a very productive call, I would say. I'm just speculating it was productive over an hour. And then Biden, shortly after that, called the leaders of NATO and advised them on what to do. And right now it's a standstill. But the thing is, there's so much FUD around this, so much tension, that you have airlines now, like Dutch airline KLM, that's suspending its flight into Ukraine. And many other airline companies are looking at doing the same thing. So this is why Ukrainians feel like they're starting to get abandoned. And of course, U.S. already moved out most of their troops, told their embassy members to fly out too, right? So if you're a Ukrainian, you're probably not feeling too good. And if flights are starting to get canceled altogether, that's not good. So I saw this, that now the whole entire country is allocating $600 million to guarantee that flights will continue, right? So I don't know what that $600 million is going towards. Maybe to the airlines, into the pockets of the CEOs of the airlines. I don't know. But if the airlines are saying we're not going, I don't know how $600 million is going to make it happen, right? So this is still a situation that's ongoing. Again, you have one side, which is the West, which is the U.S., right, that's claiming that Russia is about to invade, and there's 100,000 troops at the border, and they're not just sitting there for no reason, right? There's a reason, and in 2014, parts of Ukraine was taken over by Russia too. So there's precedence for this. Yet, you have the other side that's saying that, well, the U.S. is just causing FUD on purpose during the China Olympic Games, right? And to spur up, controversy. And Russia claims that the West is making this up. So we'll have to see. But this is gonna be a thing. It's gonna be an ongoing thing too. That's gonna be probably scaring the market and suppressing the market, because there's a lot of investors out there that's just really afraid of war or some kind of tension, right? And in this article, it talks about why a Russian invasion of Ukraine would hurt Americans. Well, most likely, to sum up, it would hurt markets. It would hurt markets. Markets around the world would react to this. Most likely, a lot of investors would be more careful, conservative with their investments. They'll pull out. It'll cause markets to go down. That's usually what happens. And of course, this is not going to be a full-out war. The U.S. already said they're not going to start a war over this, but they're going to place heavy sanctions against Russia if this happens. But I don't know what that means exactly. What heavy sanctions? I don't know. I don't know. All right. What else is going on? The markets is turning green. Bitcoin is still 42.7. So come up a little bit from yesterday's low. In fact, yesterday's low was a new low, a new temporary low, around 41.5. It did look like, Bitcoin may fall back down to this point right here, this support, somewhere around 41, 42. We're not far from there, but Bitcoin is strong. It's hanging in there. It wants to bounce back, and I still believe Bitcoin is the best hedge against inflation, which is what the Fed is trying to curb, and it's the best with economic turmoil or just turmoil overall, like what's happening in Ukraine. If I was a Ukraine citizen, I would think about how to park my money elsewhere, right? And one of the best ways is to put it into Bitcoin. So Bitcoin long-term, still the best solution for pretty much everything we're talking about. But short term, because of market volatility, you still have market movers and whales that's, trying to be very reactive to the market. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing. What else is going on? I saw a couple other things. I don't know if this is a good thing, but it kind of shows you that not everyone is as smart as they think they are. So this just came out this morning. Another George, billionaire George Soros, reveals that he bought in huge in Rivian in Q4. Took a $2 billion stake. And then Rivian is a EV truck company. And Amazon and, Amazon and Ford is in Rivian. But here's the thing. Ever since he bought in, okay, the shares have dropped about half. So he lost about 1 billion. Okay, so that currently $2 billion is now worth 1.17 billion. And Rivian this morning is up because it was revealed that Soros bought, but kind of shows you, right? It's hard to time the market, even with someone like George Soros, who you think has a lot of experience, a lot of people on his team advising on when to invest, what to invest. And the fact that he invested in a new age EV company and it went down half after his investment shows you that fund managers, hedge funds, they make mistakes too, and they're not perfect. So this notion that it's so easy for people to time top or bottom, this is why I say it's nonsense. It's nonsense, okay? But if someone like George Soros gets in, well, he's probably trying to manipulate the stock in some way. And now that he's revealed he's in it, well, Rivian is pumping, and you can see it's pumping up crazy, like 7% today, right? So he's probably trying to make it a profit, pump it up, and then maybe sell it off. But, again, I was just showing that to prove a point that this is the reason why hedge fund managers lost so much in 2021, despite the fact that 2021 was probably one of the best years I have ever seen, if not the best, in terms of appreciation of assets, including stocks. And this goes back to 2000 and 2008, right, before the last two recessions. I mean, 2021 was fantastic. I mean, you couldn't lose money in 2021, even if you tried, really, until the tail end. Yet, every single hedge fund did worse than S&P 500. There was only actually two that did better, and only one that did better than just buying Bitcoin. Everyone else was below the S&P index, and a lot of them actually lost money in 2021, which should be an impossible thing. But it happened. This is why I argued that being a Bitcoin investor or holder, you're already smarter than most hedge funds out there. And the performance shows it. But anyways, just want to throw that out there. What else is there? NIO, which is another EV company from China. EV right now in China is really bad. I mean, China is going through the same thing that we are going through. They're having, they're having supply chain issues. So that's their main bread and butter, and they can't sell their supply out, right? Or even get supplies. Obviously, it's going to hurt their citizens and their sales and stuff. So all the big EV companies is dropping in China. Unfortunately, according to this, Tesla is being pulled down with it. And speaking of Tesla, well, Tesla is coming up today, but they are below 900. And even if you look at Tesla, it's down, about 21% since its highs, right? So even someone like Tesla, who seems to have a clear lead in the EV market, is still being affected by the market and everything else that's going on. The one good thing about Tesla right now is, the one good thing, I mean, there's a lot of good things. I'm not trying to say it as a bad thing, but what's going on right now with the car market is absolutely horrendous. And I can't believe that manufacturers allow this, but I got to answer why they do. But pretty much every single car is being marked up right now. Okay, so I read a story about the Mach-E. The Mach-E is Ford's equivalent of basically the Model Y, the EV SUV. It's a very nice SUV. but it's marked up like 20, 30,000. Even like a RAV4 is marked up like 10 or 15,000, right? And the more expensive the car is, the more it's marked up. So that's what's going on right now. So it's a horrible time to be buying a new car. If you can wait, you should wait. But it's just a really horrible time to buy a new car. It's a great time to sell your used car, because used cars has gone up even more than new cars. But you know, the one really good thing about Tesla is there's no dealerships. They don't, you know, mark up their cars. If a Tesla is 50,000 or 60,000, it's 50 or 60,000. You're not gonna see anyone mark it up to 80 or $200,000 because you're buying directly from them, right? And I've talked to Toyota about this. I've been invited to many Toyota events. I've talked to the reps there. I'm like, why does dealerships allow this? It's because dealerships are controlled by like these large groups. And the only thing the manufacturers can do to these dealership associations is kind of limit their allocation, but they can't tell them what they can do or cannot do. So if they want to market their cars, they're going to be able to do so. And this is with every single manufacturer there is. This is why Fords are marked up and GMs are marked up and everything else is marked up, right? It's really bad. But that's one thing that's good about Tesla. There's no markups. Unless you're trying to get used, then maybe it's so. All right. Outside of that, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's really nothing else. Let's look at overall market, coin market cap. Bitcoin dominance is at 42.5. So Bitcoin dominance unfortunately went up even more than yesterday. So right now it's one of those times where holding a ton of altcoins is hurting, right? But it's early. But this goes back to the 50-25-25 portfolio allocation I've been talking about for a long time, right? 50% in Bitcoin for that stability, and then 25% big caps and 25% small cap micro caps. So you still have the growth of the big caps and small caps, but you want that stability with Bitcoin, right? And I know many don't follow that. Many are like 5% Bitcoin or 0% Bitcoin and everything in alts, right? Which for 2021 worked really, really well. But so far in 2022 has not been working that well, right? So we'll have to see what happens with the Fed, with the Ukraine situation, with everything else going on, right? Whether or not it flips more towards Bitcoin or it's going to flip back to altcoins. So we'll see. All right, that's pretty much it. I don't know. Let me see if I missed any super chats here. I went on a good rant right there. So usually when I'm on a roll, I don't pay attention to super chat or chats. Let me see, what did I miss here? Go over there and straighten out all this crap. No money, G says. That's not my job. MK says Putin doesn't give a flying F about sanctions. I think that's a good summary right there. And I don't even know what the sanctions would be. I mean, I don't know. What else is there? A lot of YouTubers in Ukraine say nothing is going on. Well, I'm sure to a lot, maybe nothing's going on. But the fact that some flights stopped going into Ukraine, I think that's something that's going on, right? Like, you know, if you have like a big airline like KLM that's suspending its flights to Ukraine, that is something going on. So that's not nothing. So there is something. Maybe not as bad as what CNBC says or CNN says, but there is something. Let's see. The baddest George in existence. I like to think I am, but no, I think George Soros beats me on that. The guy was alive before electricity. You guys are hilarious. What was not hilarious was any of the crypto commercials yesterday, though. Unfortunately, Neo good for DCA. Nah, if you want EV, man, you just go with Tesla. Tesla's on an unstoppable path right now. Maybe I know in China, the EV companies in China still have most of the market share because the cars are cheaper and they have different things they're working on, like exchangeable battery packs that Tesla is not looking into. But in terms of infrastructure, man, no one's even close. With 2 more gigafactories about to open up, Tesla is really looking to really just take over the market, especially with the infrastructure. Not only from battery production to the gigafactories, but the charging stations, the supercharger network is vast. So the other day I was talking about like how VW, right? VW has their ID4, which is a fine SUV, but it relies on Electrify America, and that's because VW actually built that out due to the hand slapping they received from their diesel, controversy. But Electrify America, nowhere near as vast as supercharger stations. And someone argues, well, you could charge an ID4 on Tesla supercharger. No, you can't. You can't. That's a bit main advantage. Although Tesla wants to open up their supercharger stations to other manufacturers, they're making sure that if they do, then they have to like chip in to grow the network. And so far, other manufacturers don't want to help Tesla grow their network, so that hasn't happened yet. So if you're going EV, just go with Tesla. I mean, that's my honest opinion. No one's going to compete with them in that space. All right. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. VVS, no, don't go with VVS. I don't trust them. Bring back the car reviews. I've been putting videos out on drivers only, so hopefully you've been watching them. Bill Bones, man, you're harsh. You're harsh. F-150 Lightnings will change that? No, it won't. I've seen it many times. First of all, the quality is still like F-150, which let's just say it's okay. And second of all, Ford's charging situation is even worse than VW's. So they don't even use Electrify America. They use another companies, which is very, very lacking. So Ford's issue, all these manufacturers' issues is charging, the infrastructure, right? Until we have gas stations, basically have charging stations everywhere, like every gas station, right? Charging is always going to be an issue. EV range anxiety is always going to be an issue. Cold weather range is always going to be an issue, right? So manufacturers have to basically relieve those issues from consumers. Otherwise, you're not going to get people to buy them. And Tesla is the best at doing that right now. Can Russia get SWIFT system using BTC to pay bank? Get around SWIFT system using BTC? Yes. That may be one of the reasons why Putin is looking at Bitcoin. Because if there are sanctions, right, one of the best ways to get around sanctions is utilizing Bitcoin, even though that's not something that we want to advertise or something that we condone, but you could do it. It's a payment network. It's the greatest payment network there is with no middleman to stop anything. Jeff, appreciate that. So, could be. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. Overall, I don't know, market's kind of up right now. The U.S. market is digesting what's coming. There's a Fed meeting today. There's still this Ukraine conflict. But it's kind of surprising because Europe really sold off. Asia really sold off. So U.S. is actually holding its own right now, which is good. Bitcoin is coming back up a little bit from yesterday's lows, which is also good. But I have more thoughts to share about Bitcoin and crypto in a couple hours, so make sure you tune in at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Have a good one, guys. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Take care. Bye-bye.